You're listening to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community with your host, Ben Wolf.
Welcome to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community. This is Ben Wolf, as always, your host. We're going to learn from our guest today how to Swagify and Gamify virtual events. And with that, I want to ask everybody to pause for a second, leave a review, subscribe, wherever you're listening to this. Give it 5 stars, follow, like, whatever it is they let you do, wherever it is that you're watching this or listening to this. And with that, I want to introduce our guest today, who is the co-founder and CEO of Swag.com, whose first customer, interestingly enough, was Facebook. So that's an interesting story. I read an interesting article about that. I don't know if we'll get to it today, but we're going to link in the show notes, in the social media. We're going to link to in the show description to a very, very interesting guide that he put together, a pocket guide for making fun, interesting virtual events. So I'm going to share a link to a guide that he has on his website posted. So it's a great resource, and you can learn more about him at swag.com. And with that, I give you Jeremy Parker. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, no, very good. Nice to have you here. And I guess I want to get started with really just asking you to just kind of, spend a quick 2-minute context, quick 2-minute background, so we understand how you got, I guess my main interest in what I think might be the biggest value for my particular audience is this of virtual events, and how to just have a different angle on that, because you talk in your guide about screen fatigue and all this stuff. I think everybody has got Zoom fatigue a year ago already. And so, how to engage with people in a way, or with employees, and have events or private events that can actually be interesting, and people actually enjoy it or engaged by, and possibly using swag as part of that. But to see how you got to be talking about this kind of stuff, like a quick 2-minute background, how you got here.
Sure. Sounds good. So no one thinks when they graduate college that they want to go into swag. It's not the sexiest of industries, I would say. Okay. But when I graduated college, I was actually a documentary filmmaker in college. And when I was 18 years old or so, I won the Vail Film Festival. So I won this really big film festival. And I remember I was on the top of the mountain, and I went to this kind of celebrity brunch the next day, and half the room were these big celebrities that everyone's heard of, and half the room were more of these struggling artists. And I did like an internal gut check to myself, and I said, number one, do I love what I'm doing? And number two, am I that good? And both answers were no. And I realized at the time that I love the aspect of storytelling, and I love the aspect, frankly, of making the film. The process of making it and coming up with the idea and designing it and interviewing people and all the different aspects. And it was very entrepreneurial in many ways. It doesn't really seem like on the surface, but filmmaking is very similar to starting a business, especially when you're doing a low budget film. And when I graduated college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started a t-shirt company, and this was in 2007. So right around the recession. And if you remember the recession, all the banks were going under, all the high-end premium stores were going under, and my $250 t-shirt company, no one was looking to buy, or all the people who were buying, no one wanted to reorder it because no one had money. So I came up with this marketing initiative at the time, and I was 22, where we would tie the prices of our shirts to the price of the Dow Jones. So for every 100 points the Dow dropped, they would get a discount on their t-shirt price. At the time it was a little bit gimmicky, but ultimately I reached out to Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban was a big entrepreneur, obviously still a big entrepreneur, but he has this blog called Blog Maverick, or he used to. And I used to read it. I was trying to learn as much as I could about being what an entrepreneur is. And Mark responded to me within 10 minutes. It was like unbelievable. He said, I love your story. And do you mind if I post about you on my blog? So he posted about our story and about our market-related pricing model. That got seen by Ad Age writer who wrote a big, in the physical print. And it set me on this path of being introduced to the promotional product space, because one of the readers of Ad Age was the CEO of a very large promotional product company. And he reached out to me, and we hit it off. And I was 23 at the time. At this point, I started working with him, for him, and I started to learn the ins and the outs of the promotional product space. And at the time, I realized how broken in the industry was, how fragmented it was. It was very reliant on back and forth emails, phone calls to close sales, catalogs, presentation decks. But at the time, the buyer was a much older buyer. And to me, as a 23-year-old, I realized there's probably a better way to buy swag, but maybe the buyer wasn't the right buyer. What wasn't me? Maybe I wasn't the right buyer for this space. Fast forward 12 years, I did a lot of different startups, but I always realized how powerful and how big and how amazing the swag industry was. Except for 10 years ago, it was very broken and old. And I kept like following it, and I realized that the industry is still very much in broken and old, but the buyer changed. And that was kind of an aha moment. In 2016, I realized the buyer is no longer a 40 to 50-year-old. It's a millennial. It's a 23-year-old. It's a 25-year-old. They want to do things very differently than the 40-year-olds. So they want things to be super curated. They don't want to have to sift through thousands of products. They want things to be very, here's the best of what's out there. They don't want to have to look through catalogs or presentation decks. They want to find what they're looking for, upload their logo, design it, buy it in a matter of seconds. They don't want to speak to anyone on the phone. They want to avoid phones and conversations at all costs. So how do we build the right platform for today's buyer? And then we just went all in on swag.com and really trying to build the right platform for those millennial office managers, HR managers, marketing team, sales team, all the different divisions within the company. How do you give them a great?
Okay, that's very cool. I mean, I guess what to get to connect that to what we're talking about today. What are the biggest reasons why we're tired of virtual events and webinars and things like that? What are the biggest things, like, for people that might want to make them or do them, to understand? Okay, what are the biggest reasons why we hate them, we're bored by them, and want to look for every excuse not to do one, not to participate in one? I mean,
yeah, I mean, for our experience, a big part of our buyer group are marketing teams who are holding these virtual events, and everyone is trying to be adaptable during this pandemic season. No one's going in person to things. They have to re-engage with their best customers, their leads, their best employees. And it is challenging. Everyone has that Zoom fatigue. Everyone is staring at a screen. It's not fun, right? It feels very, impersonal. Everyone is so disconnected. There's not that kind of collaboration or connectivity that's happening. So we found is a lot of our customers are using swag as a way to engage, as a way to send somebody a really nice swag box before the day of the event. So like the day of the event's coming, there's a knock on the door and there's a box in the mail that kind of welcomes them and makes them feel, takes that kind of physical aspect of swag and brings it to this virtual world, right? We're not connected. We're not shaking hands with people. We're not really talking to people face to face, but having some sort of physical product that can connect the whole experience together and make it feel not so weird. So that's what we've seen a lot of people doing. We also seen people do, based on who are the attendees, people who, they do quizzes or they do games to make it more fun and make it more interactive. And the winner, gets a link sent to them and says, hey, Jennifer, input your email address, input your, your t-shirt size, what product you want, pick the 3 of the 5 products that you want. And it gets sent to them, make it more fun, make it interactive, make people are engaged as opposed to just listening to speeches, make it more, bring the personal level out of it.
How do people use, just like a couple of examples or whatever, how do people use these swag boxes or things that physically get sent to people in advance? How do you connect that to the event, or how do those get connected to the event?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways. You can obviously do things right before the event to lead up to the event, or you could do things post-event, right? And you could engage on the event call to actually engage after the event. So we have companies, let's say like Amazon, for example, they're having a big event. They go on our site, they find all the different products that they want. They could build a fully custom branded box on their site, hands-free. Obviously, we have people on our team who could help out, who could give suggestions, completely design the boxes based on the conference, the trade show, the event, the theme, or just make it general and make really high quality products. So let's say Amazon goes on, they say, I want every box to include a t-shirt, a notebook, a pen, a mug, a note card, etc. They build these boxes. Once they place their order, all those products get produced. It all gets sent to our facility for kitting and warehousing. They box everything up. We box everything up in our facility. And then right before the event, Amazon goes up and they upload the CSV file of all of the ship to addresses of everyone who's submitted information, who's coming to the event, and we ship out all across the globe for them. That's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of our customers don't know where the recipients live, right? Like you might know where your employee lives, but you might not know where everyone who joins, a virtual event lives. You don't know what t-shirt size they are. You don't know what they like. So what we built is this giveaway feature. It's completely free to use. What you do is you upload your logo, your colors, and we create in seconds a branded landing page. So let's say Facebook has their logos, their colors. And what you can do is you can offer all the products that you first bought on their site. So let's say Facebook buys, 1,000 t-shirts, 1,000 mugs, 1,000 water bottles, notebooks, pens, etc. We hold all of their stuff in our fulfillment center. So think of it as like an online swag closet. They then go and create a giveaway landing page with their logos, their colors, and they blast this link out to whoever signs up for the virtual event. Thousands of people are signing up. They say, hey, thanks so much for signing up for our event. Blast them out of the link. Click on this. Input your address, input your t-shirt size, select 3 of the 5 products you want, 5 of the 7 products, or select all the products that you want, etc. Once they submit their information, we capture that information, and now we have all the relevant information to distribute that swag to people. So there's different ways that you could do it, whether you have the recipient's address or whether you don't have any information about the recipient except for their email address. It still works, and it makes this virtual dispersed events more personal. And that's really what we're trying to get at. That's the really missing element of these virtual events. It's bringing a human element to it.
Right. Imagine, I forgot if you gave this example on one of the articles I saw on your website, but imagine right now, for those who can't see, Jeremy is wearing a green hat. Imagine if you said to everybody who's going to be there, this green hat, you look on the screen, everybody you see, if you can see the people, is wearing a similar hat. Also, it could be like a physical way that connects people and makes them feel a little more fun and part of something.
Oh, 100%. No, we have tons of events, and people always send us pictures after their event where it's like 500 people on the screen and they're all wearing the same product, or they're all drinking out of the same mug, or
right.
Make it fun. You can have like themes about different types of themes. You could send it could be a cocktail hour, and you could send, cocktail recipes and mixers and all these. You can make it really fun. It doesn't have to be even about virtual events. It could be about like team events, team bonding.
Right. Could be with your own team. Right.
One thing, we've done things where we send swag to our
holiday parties that people can't have together. And
exactly right. And you can make fun games out of it. You can send things to people, and then on the screen you can have a game where it says like, hey, run around your house and find toilet paper, or make it more interactive where people are not just staring at a screen. They're feeling like they're getting engaged, they're having fun. And it's very hard to have fun when you're not connected to people and you're so virtual. Right. So anything that you could do to more personalize it and make it more human, that's really where we're seeing everything really trend to.
What about what was one of the things? How do you gamify things? Let's say putting aside stuff that was sent to people beforehand. I think you might have mentioned this briefly a minute ago, but how do you gamify things? You gave one example of like scavenger hunt kind of around your own house, and that I've seen that before. What else? I guess in terms of games or contests or quizzes, or like what other things that people do?
It's every company does different things. I mean, for us, we've seen the primary focus on themes. That's really been kind of like the big thing that's been shifting, is that people have specific events or specific themes for their team events, and they get swag that, is relevant to that. A lot of things that people are focusing on right now is like work from home culture. Everyone's at home. So how do you improve the lives of people who are at home? Sending them pajamas, sending them things that you wouldn't even think about that are typical swag items. Like we have companies that have sent pots and pans to people with their company logo on it, humidifiers, like different puzzles for not just the recipient getting it, but like more of like giving it to their kids, so that their kids have something. Like people are now not just employees, they're parents, they're work from home parents, they're teachers. Like everybody is having to do multiple jobs that they otherwise haven't had to do. And how do you make your recipients, your employees, your best customers, your leads, whoever you're sending stuff to, how do you make their lives more enjoyable? And so people are really thinking super outside the box of how they go about doing it.
A couple of ideas you've also mentioned. I wonder, how do people do this? I'm a very kind of nuts and bolts kind of interviewer, like interested in hearing like practical ideas and specifics. So one of the things you talked about, and some of the stuff I saw from you, is incorporating pre-recorded videos into meetings or events, or quizzes and things afterwards. Like, how does that work? Like, how do people do things like that?
Even for our team, we've hired about 30 people since last year. So that's a lot of people that we haven't actually met in person,
right?
Which is challenging. You're working with them every single day. You're working on Slack, you're video chatting, but you don't really even know who they are. You don't know anything about their families. You don't know their personalities. There's a couple of people, we had a team get together a month ago. I had 3 employees that when you're looking at the screen, they seem normal height, but when you meet them in person, they're 6'5" and they're towering over everybody. Like you don't even know anything about them. Right. And what we did, and it was kind of a fun thing to do, is before the event, we had everybody record a 3-minute video about their hobbies, their favorite foods, what they're interested in, relationship stats, like all these different things, just so people understand them a little bit. And then we sent it all in, and we had Jesse on our team, and he compiled honestly, like a 30-minute video of 3 minutes of every single employee introducing themselves, and people really got to know each other, and it made it felt.
You played all of them? You played the whole thing?
Whole thing. We sat down, we got on the video, and we had a 2-hour event after work one night, and we all like had cocktails and we made it fun. And we watched a movie. We watched like a 30-minute movie of 3 minutes of every single one of our employees introducing themselves, showing their home, showing what their hobbies are. And honestly, it helped a lot. Like when we met in person for the first time, everyone felt like they knew each other. It felt different. It felt human. It felt like what you would get if you were going to lunch with somebody in the office. And we're all just missing that connectivity, but it's very challenging. It's not so easy as saying, hey, we should just all go back into the office, right? Everyone is living 2 hours away outside of New York City. Our office is in New York. We have employees now in Ohio. We have employees in Miami. We have it's not so easy to just say, oh, let's just all go into the office. So how do you build that connectivity and that collaboration and that, frankly, that culture, even when no one's in the office? You have to go above and beyond. You have to think outside the box. You have to be creative with it.
What I guess part of what what seems daunting, I guess when I think about doing this or any of my clients doing this, is like, how am I going to do it? Like, how am I going to coordinate all this? How am I going to coordinate such a big event? Or if I want to get stuff out to people in advance, or if I want to give prizes and then getting those out to people afterwards. Are there resources? Like how do people who are already busy do there's a lot more work.
It's a lot of work
in these kind of events. So look, if you have a whole marketing team or some kind of huge HR team with 8 people who could, you have enough bandwidth or people to coordinate something, but are there resources? Is there help? What's the easiest way, I guess, to do some of these more creative ideas, quizzes, sending things in advance, things afterwards, I don't know, games, whatever, videos? Like, what are some things or resources that people could use to make that easier, less time consuming?
In terms of the swag, we made it really easy, at least that part. The part of giving swag away, collecting addresses, buying stuff in a matter of seconds. We hold the swag, we package it for you. You can offload all that to us. That's really easy. So in terms of getting the boxes to the event, the day of the event, easy. In terms of getting the people who come to your event and reward them, capture their email address, capture their physical address, what t-shirt size there, easy. All of that aspect we've taken care of.
So do you have like an account manager like that? Hey, I have an event coming up, and 100%. Then whatever the shipping, I don't know, whatever the physical aspects of it are, they work with me or somebody in my team to help coordinate it?
It's even easier. So you have an event and you want something coming up in 3 weeks. You have an account rep on our team who can help you out, who can show you products that they think could work. You tell them the event type, the theme. We can help you source ideas, etc. You go onto the site, and by the way, you don't have to use us. You could browse yourself. We have great filters. You could, you don't need our help. But if you wanted it, we will be there to help you. You find what you're looking for. You upload your logo. You design the products. Prices are shown in real time. During the checkout flow, there's 2 options: send to your office, or send to one address, or send to multiple addresses. In this case, because you're having a virtual event, you want to send to multiple addresses. So all you have to do is click on that button. It tells our system, as opposed to sending all that swag to your office, we're now going to hold that swag in our fulfillment center for warehousing distribution. Think of it as like an online swag closet. Then you go onto this platform, you see a whole dashboard, all of your inventory in real time, and you want to send it out to 1,000 people. You upload a CSV file with all the ship to addresses. In real time, we're going to calculate the shipping costs based on the products you're sending and where they're going. You pay for it, and now we're shipping it worldwide. So you don't have to touch any of the products. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is upload that CSV file with the ship to addresses. If you don't have the addresses of the people, all you have to do is use our giveaway feature, which allows you to create a link in seconds and blast that link out to all of the email addresses that people are going to your event to capture that information. All that stuff gets speaking to our system, and we distribute it. So in terms of the buying of the swag and the distributing of the swag, there's no process for you. It's very, very simple. There's no hand holding. It's effortless. Now, in terms of the games and the quizzes and all those different things, obviously we don't do that stuff. So we use free resources online. There's so much stuff that you can't even imagine. You Google, hey, team event resources, or like we had a great event, virtual event, where we took like regular question and answers of like a game night, right? Imagine you went to a bar and you're having a game night, like typical questions that some people might know or not know. But we also incorporated specific team-based questions, like what's Jeremy's daughter's name, right? Stuff like that really, makes people think like, do you know your employees? Like how, like you start thinking more about it. Or like, name 7 employee dogs on the team, right? Like some things that like not everyone's going to know, but it's fun.
Right.
And it gets you thinking about your teammates and that people are real people. And you start to, in our sense, really build that culture up. And that's all that these events should be used for, especially these team events. It's all about re-emphasizing the culture, making sure people know that we're all on the same team, we're all working together, we all have the same mission. It's really the essence of what swag is. Like when you walk down the street and you see somebody wearing, your favorite t-shirt or your favorite college apparel, or your favorite sports team, you don't know who that person is, but you feel that inherent connection to them, right? Because they're connected in one way. If you have a team event and everyone's wearing this green hat, you feel connected to those people just by what they're wearing, right? You're all connected. You all are working towards the same goal of making this company better. I think there's just so many more things of like the visual representation of things and connecting the dots and getting people to have that physical product in this kind of virtual online world.
Right. Very cool. One last thing is can you tell the story? Like, I know this is, it's a departure from the idea of virtual events and gamifying things, but it could help people in terms of the idea of having an entrepreneurial approach to sales, right? So that the story about your first client, I think it's swag.com.
Yep, sure,
and how you approached, kind of the guerrilla marketing and getting out there when you didn't have a reputation, you didn't have relationships, you didn't already know people, you didn't, they say it's not about what you know, it's who you know, but you didn't have a who, right? Yep. So if you don't mind telling that story, people could get ideas from it, I think.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. And I think in the very beginning, for every business, there's different traction channels that you have to focus on, right? Like every company is different. So I'm not going to say that this is the right way for everybody, but for us, we wanted to build a reputation of, look who swag.com works with from day one, because everyone always says start from the bottom and you work your way up until you get to big companies. But in our mindset, let's start from the top. Let's get those big name brands and let's show these who swag.com work with. Clearly, if they work with Facebook and Google and Amazon and WeWork and all these big companies, they could clearly handle our swag. So our first customer was Facebook. And we got into the office. I knew somebody in the office and I reached out to him on LinkedIn and I got into the office. But when we were in the office, and he wasn't a swag buyer at all, it just got us in to see the office. And I brought with my co-founder, Josh, we brought a bag of swag. We were traveling salesmen, 100%. And we were walking up and down the hallways of an office. Like, I don't know who else does that, but like we were really traveling salesmen, going to the marketing division in the office, say, hey, anybody needs some swag? Ultimately, we ended up setting up one of their conference rooms as like a trade show booth. I mean, we weren't invited. We put all
probably would not fly today, but it was.
Yeah. And then a lot of people were walking by the room and like, oh, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're swag.com. We can help you out. And no one even knew that we were supposed to be there or not there. We were just set up there. Ultimately, somebody came in and said, actually, I would love some t-shirts. And for us, it was just about making the sale to Facebook. It didn't matter about making money. It didn't matter about margins. None of that really concerned us. It was about learning the best experience, what are the products that people actually want, and getting those early wins so that we could build upon it. But really, the second story is even better because our second customer ever was WeWork. And when we went to WeWork and we reached out to somebody on LinkedIn, got a meeting, and they're like, who else do you work with? And we said, Facebook. And they probably assume we had thousands of other customers, but really Facebook.
This is one order of
I think it was like 300 t-shirts. It was like nothing. And WeWork, we ultimately ended up winning the WeWork summer camp t-shirt contract, which is a really big deal. It's about 5,000 t-shirts. And we basically had to spend a month making these shirts and rolling them. And I had my grandma, my aunts and uncles, my mom and dad rolling t-shirts. We rented a U-Haul, went down 6 hours to the campgrounds. But what was amazing about that thing, and by the way, we didn't care about margin either for that order, because our feeling was there's gonna be 5,000 people at the WeWork summer camp, and every single t-shirt says swag.com with our tagline, we made this. That's gonna be the ultimate viral, viral growth. 5,000 people wearing a t-shirt made by us, seeing that clearly WeWork uses them, getting the instant social proof, looking at the inner label, who made this amazing t-shirt, swag.com, we should use them also. That one order got us over 100 new customers, that one order. Right. So really going all in and trying to say, who else can we get early and treat them as amazing? Do whatever you can to get those early wins, because they will be by nature, helping you grow and getting you more and more customers.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Anything else I should ask you?
I don't know. I don't know, but
that's good.
There's a lot of things that I think if your audience is entrepreneurs and starting things, I think a lot of people, when they're starting out, and I was the same way, I've made this mistake a lot of times. When you're building something from the get-go, you think every single thing has to be perfect, and you think you have to have the answers to everything, and that's just not true. And most of the time, you don't know where you're going to end up. You're going to launch something, and you realize that what you thought was the right thing was completely the wrong thing, and something you never even thought about, that's the real right stuff. And I made this mistake, and I built a business before Swag, and I spent several years building it. And I used to lose sleep over like nuance and the smallest details and be like, it has to work this perfect way. And then when I launched it, I realized no one cared what I thought was important. And there's all this other stuff that they really cared about. And I wish I launched much faster and learned from our customers much faster so I can build the right platform. And with Swag, we took the approach of, we're just going to launch before we even had a platform. Let's just learn what the right thing to build is, so that when we actually launch something, we know for a fact it's the right thing because our customers were telling us that this is what they wanted. So I think as an entrepreneur, get out of your own way, make the first step, launch and learn. That's really it. Launch and learn, because you don't know what the right thing to build is.
All right. And that may be the best advice that you've said this entire time. I think that is huge. I was just recently reading some of the Dan Sullivan books and Strategic Coach. And he writes a lot about that also, just about the 80% approach, that what you think is 80%, like for most people, that's 100%. Yep. And, just what you're saying about, launch and learn. People have lunch and learn, so launch and learn. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I think that's amazing advice. But so I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do some more exciting and fun things, and certainly people can go to swag.com to see more about how you can help them with how Jeremy.swag.com can help people with with your events, whether it's your team, your people, or whether it's marketing things and potential customers, prospects, etc., content marketing.
Yeah, I think the main thing for us in terms of virtual events is just how we can help you humanize your virtual event. And that's really it. It's bringing a human element into it. And we found that swag or gifts really have that physical touch and gets people to be excited about the event leading up to it. And it gets people to remember the event way after the event. And it just brings some sort of different element that's a little bit more than just going on the screen and listening to people talk. Have a little bit more fun with it.
Right. Yeah, sounds awesome. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for your time today. And I appreciate you coming out. Thanks for having me. Really a pleasure to be here. My pleasure. Thank you. And everybody else, we'll see you on the other side.
You're listening to Win-Win, an entrepreneurial community with your host, Ben Wolf.